Good evening, everyone. Welcome to NTD Tonight. I'm David Zhang. Here is a preview of some of today's top stories. Broken ceasefire agreement between Israel and Hamas terrorists. What does this now mean for remaining hostages and their families? A Chinese-founded fast fashion company files to go public. The company named Shein wants to start trading in the U.S. market, despite allegations and investigations into its labor violations. A California professor caught in the middle of a debate following his pro-Israel comments. Some want him terminated, others want him to return to campus. The temporary ceasefire between Israel and Hamas terrorists was extended by 2 days, giving family members more hope that their loved ones will be released. But now both sides are accusing the other of violating the agreement. NTD's Jason Perry has the details.
Day 5 of the temporary ceasefire between Israel and Hamas terrorists did not go exactly as planned. Israel Defense Forces reported that 3 explosive devices blew up near Israeli troops in 2 different locations in the northern Gaza Strip. At one of the locations, terrorists also opened fire on the Israeli troops who returned fire. The IDF did not provide specifics but reported a number of Israeli soldiers were slightly injured during the incidents. At the same time, Hamas accused Israeli forces of violating the truce agreement. But after the fighting settled down, the hostage prisoner exchange continued on as planned. On Tuesday, more hostages were released from Hamas captivity, and they were seen approaching the Rafah crossing, Gaza's border with Egypt. 10 female Israeli hostages ages 17 to 84 were released. 3 of them have fathers who are still being held captive by Hamas. 2 foreign nationals were also released. And Israel appears to have kept up its side of the deal. A Red Cross bus was seen pulling into an Israeli military prison on Tuesday in the West Bank and later released 30 Palestinian prisoners.
It's like the Schindler List. We are waiting to see who's going to survive, who's not.
And for those whose family members are not on the list, it's a difficult burden to bear.
And unfortunately, we're speaking about my cousin Shiri and the 2 little kids. Ariel is only 4 years old, and Kfir is now about 10.5 months old.
And this Israeli woman shared how her life was forever changed after the Hamas terrorist attack on October 7th.
I was a mother in Friday, and in Saturday night, I didn't have children.
Her son was killed, and her only other child, her daughter, was kidnapped and remains in Hamas captivity. And her daughter's name was also not on the list of hostages released on Tuesday.
We called her Papi in the family. So, Papi, we love you. We're waiting for you every day. And we hope you're okay.
Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu vowed to bring all the hostages back without exception. Israel has said they're willing to keep extending the ceasefire as long as 10 hostages are released each day. Jason Perry, NTD News.
Now let's take a look at other national headlines. In Atlanta, U.S. presidents and first ladies are gathering today for a private tribute service to honor former First Lady Rosalynn Carter. Among the attendees are President Biden, First Lady Jill Biden, and Vice President Kamala Harris. Former President Bill Clinton, along with former First Ladies Hillary Clinton, Michelle Obama, and Melania Trump, were also in attendance. Former President Jimmy Carter, who is 99 and receiving hospice care at home, sits in the front row with the Carter family. A departure ceremony took place this morning at the Carter Presidential Center before Rosalynn Carter's motorcade heads to Glen Memorial United Methodist Church at Emory University for the private tribute service. On Wednesday, a private funeral will be held in Plains. Rosalynn Carter passed away on November 19th at 96 years old after she was diagnosed with dementia. Hunter Biden is set to appear publicly for the House GOP probe into his family's business dealings. The president's son has agreed to testify before the House Oversight Committee. Republicans on the committee had subpoenaed Hunter Biden for a closed-door transcribed interview. In a letter sent to the committee today, Hunter Biden's lawyer accused the Republicans of manipulating facts using closed-door sessions. The lawyer said rather than a closed-door meeting, Hunter Biden is open to testifying publicly before the committee. Committee Chairman James Comer responded, "We expect full cooperation with our subpoena for deposition, but also agree that Hunter Biden should have the opportunity to testify in a public setting at a future date." The subpoena is part of the House GOP's impeachment inquiry into President Biden. Hunter Biden's initial deposition is set for December 13th. Now for a quick preview of general elections next year. Which Senate seats are most likely to flip? Democrats face an uphill battle to hold on to their majority in the Senate. In the 2024 elections, these 5 Senate seats are most likely to flip. First up, Democratic Senator Joe Manchin's seat in West Virginia. Manchin announced this month he is not running for re-election. This means his seat is almost guaranteed to go to Republicans in the heavily red state. In Montana, Republicans are seeking to oust Democratic Senator John Tester. Tester is running for re-election in a state that former President Trump carried by 16 points. In Ohio, Democratic Senator Sherrod Brown is trying to secure a 4th term. The past decade has seen Ohio transform from a swing state to a reliably Republican state. And in Arizona, Independent Senator Kyrsten Sinema hasn't announced her run for re-election. But if she does, she will face a 3-way battle against both the GOP and the Democratic Party. And lastly, in Pennsylvania, Democratic Senator Bob Casey will also face tough re-election in a state that saw razor-thin margins in recent elections. Honda is recalling hundreds of thousands of vehicles due to an issue with their seatbelts. The Japanese automaker made the announcement in a filing with the National Highway Traffic Safety Administration last week. The recall affects over 300,000 Honda Accords and HR-Vs that were manufactured between October 4th of last year and October 14th of this year. Honda says the vehicles are missing pre-tensioner rivets. That's the part of the seatbelt that tightens under sudden force and prevents occupants from flying forward in the event of a collision. Honda says the defective parts increase the risk of injury in a crash. Fortunately, the automaker says it hasn't received any reports of injuries or deaths as a result. Honda says it will start notifying owners by mail beginning January 8th. But they also say that owners can enter their vehicle information number on Honda's recall website to see if theirs is affected. Chinese-founded fast fashion company Shein has filed confidentially to go public in the United States. NTD's Stephanie Sikal tells us more.
In the past, Chinese fast fashion titan Shein found itself entangled in a legal battle as 3 U.S. fashion designers filed a lawsuit. Despite these pre-existing challenges, including accusations of intellectual property theft, forced labor, and an ongoing congressional investigation into potential labor violations within its supply chain, Shein has reportedly filed confidentially for an initial public offering in the United States. It's aiming to become one of the most valuable Chinese-founded companies listed on the New York Stock Exchange. Goldman Sachs, JP Morgan Chase, and Morgan Stanley are expected to lead the IPO, potentially taking place in 2024 with a speculated valuation of up to $90 billion. Despite a decrease in valuation to $60 billion in May, Shein's move comes during a challenging IPO market. The company's direct shipping strategy and concerns about its supply chain have raised interest and investigations. Analysts view Shein's decision to go public as timely, capitalizing on favorable market conditions and potential regulatory changes for small retailers. Stephanie Sikal, NTD News.
The Chinese Communist Party spreads its malign influence in the U.S. and around the globe using an apparatus called the United Front. Mao Zedong once called it a magic weapon for success. Today, U.S. lawmakers detailing how this malevolent mechanism operates. NTD's Arian Pastar takes a closer look.
China's United Front Work Department pushes the CCP's evil ideology in the U.S. and around the globe. On Tuesday, the Select Committee on the CCP published a bipartisan memo saying Chinese dictator Mao Zedong described United Front Work as a magic weapon for the party's success. The CCP used it during the 1960s in its Cultural Revolution, which killed tens of millions of people. United Front work contains activities that aim to pressure, threaten, and attack individuals, companies, governments, and more, so that they align with CCP interests. Nowadays, these activities even take place in the United States. Earlier this year, multiple pro-China protesters interrupted a congressional hearing that focused on the CCP's United Front work.
The biggest threat to this country and the world, we need to...
I think these eruptions are indicative of really the effect that the United Front Work Department has had. They reinforce, I think, the idea that America is the problem in the world, and only if America disengages, or in this case becomes more passive, that things will get better.
Another example of United Front work in the US are alleged Chinese police stations, which actually serve as spy posts for the CCP, like the one in Manhattan that made headlines earlier this year. Another example of United Front work in the US took place earlier this year, when Taiwan's president visited the United States. The CCP told organizations in California and in New York to go protest Taiwan's leader during her visit. Now, of course, people have the right to protest. But what if tensions between China and the US keep rising? What if a war breaks out? It's not clear how the CCP might use its outposts in the United States in such a scenario. Ariane Pastar, NTD News.
A university professor in Southern California is caught in the middle of a debate over whether he should be removed or returned to campus. His pro-Israel comments went viral at a pro-Palestine rally.
University of Southern California economics professor John Strauss, who is pro-Israel, is banned from teaching on campus after a video of his comments with a pro-Palestinian rally went viral. Strauss was walking past the group of students who rallied for pro-Palestine and allegedly said, quote, "Israel forever, Hamas are murderers." But the students claim he said all Palestinians should be killed. After the incident, USC asked that the professor teach his remaining courses off campus to ensure his and his students' safety. In a statement to NTD, USC said there are misleading reports about Strauss being placed on administrative leave, and that he has in no way been disciplined or punished for engaging in protected speech. There are petitions calling to both fire him and bring him back to campus. The petition to fire Strauss has over 7,000 signatures as of November 28th, and the one to bring him back has more than double that number, at nearly 16,000.
We'll take a short break now, everybody, but here's a look at what we have for you when we come back. In Nevada, officials propose no stopping on Las Vegas bridges, but some locals are concerned about the idea. Thieves grabbing clothing from a California retail shop. Cameras catch the group smiling as they leave the store. Meta accused of illegally taking information from children. We'll take a closer look at the lawsuit. Those stories and more coming up on NTD Tonight. Welcome back to NTD Tonight. I'm your host, David Zhang. A new proposed ordinance may alter the dynamics of the Las Vegas bridge behavior. NTD's Christina Corona has more on the story.
A proposed ordinance presented to Nevada's Clark County Commission Tuesday aims to establish designated pedestrian flow zones on Las Vegas bridges and within a 20-foot radius of adjacent escalators, stairs, and elevators. According to the proposed ordinance, it would be unlawful for any person to stop, stand, or do anything to cause others to pause in those zones. The ordinance states that the measure is being proposed due to public safety concerns. Stop Stopping on the pedestrian bridges creates conditions that can foment disorder, which in turn can lead to crime and serious safety issues. Because pedestrian traffic demand on the bridges vary significantly and unpredictably, regardless of day or time of day, it is impossible to know in advance when stopping will result in criminal or otherwise dangerous conditions. According to data provided to commissioners by UNLV criminal justice professor Dr. William H. Sosa, from 2018 to 2022, there was a 23% increase in disorderly calls for service on Las Vegas Boulevard, and 11% of those calls happened on pedestrian bridges. While law enforcement expressed concerns about heightened safety risks, event promoters and performers fear potential audience loss. The first public hearing for the introduced ordinance is scheduled for December 5th. If approved, it would amend Title 16 of the Clark County Code. Christina Corona, NTD News.
Disneyland guests were greeted with some indecent exposure. Onlookers caught on video a man who wandered around naked on one of the theme park's rides.
An unidentified naked man was captured on cell phone video while guests were on the It's a Small World ride in Disneyland. The 26-year-old was wandering around near the ride's Taj Mahal and waded into the waters outside, visible to hundreds of onlookers. Park guests said the ride was stopped for about an hour. Security and the Anaheim police carried him out. He was arrested and charged for indecent exposure and being under the influence of a controlled substance. He was also taken to a hospital as a precaution. Disneyland has a courtesy section on its website asking people to treat others with respect, kindness, and compassion so that everyone may have a safe and enjoyable experience. Those who violate the rules will be asked to leave.
Smiling thieves were caught on camera while bagging jeans from a California retail store. The police are asking for tips in identifying the not-so-camera shy group. NTD's Jason Blair has more.
After emptying an entire wall display of Levi's jeans, 4 thieves can be clearly seen in a surveillance camera while leaving a retail store in California. The incident happened on Monday around 8 p.m. in Vallejo. The group stuffed the jeans into trash bags. They're estimated to have gotten away with $12,000 worth of merchandise. The Vallejo Police Department released these photos and are asking for the public's assistance in identifying the thieves. They encourage anyone with tips or information to call the police department. Jason Blair, NTD News.
Meta accused of illegally taking personal information from underage children. An unsealed lawsuit from 33 attorneys general in the U.S. reveals more allegations, putting the social media giant in the hot seat once again. NTD's David Lam has the details.
A newly unsealed complaint Monday reveals internal communications from within Meta regarding its impact on youth. Initially filed in October, prosecutors accuse Meta of knowingly implementing harmful features on Instagram and Facebook, addicting children and teens for the worse. Since 2019, Meta received over 1 million reports of under 13 users on Instagram, but only disabled a portion of those accounts. California's Attorney General, who co-led the coalition, says Meta knows that what it is doing is bad for kids, period. It is now there in black and white, and it is damning. In 2020, Meta CEO Mark Zuckerberg vetoed the company's proposal to ban image filters that simulated the effects of plastic surgery, despite internal pushback and an expert consensus that the filters harm users' mental health. Meta told the Associated Press that the legal complaint misrepresents Meta's work over the past decade to bolster safety of teenagers online, saying it has over 30 tools to support them and their parents. As far as preventing younger users from the apps, Meta said age verification is a complex industry challenge. The tech giant said it supports federal law requiring teens under 16 to get parents' approval when downloading apps. During a congressional hearing in March 2021, Zuckerberg said he did not believe Meta's platforms harm children and suggested that the platforms help people stay connected to people they care about. Prosecutors plan to continue prosecuting the matter. In California, David Lam, NTD News.
In the world of sports, LeBron James and a Fontana softball coach are making headlines. Let's turn it over to NTD's Tyler Castillo for the details.
LeBron James this past week has broken 2 records, leading the NBA in minutes played and became the first player to score over 39,000 points. In the most minutes record in the NBA, James beat Kareem Abdul-Jabbar, who had 66,297 minutes. Abdul-Jabbar was also second in points with 38,387 points, making LeBron James the first player in NBA history to hit 39,000 in a career. We will update you if there are any other records broken. A Fontana softball coach has been arrested on the allegations involving inappropriate relations with a 12-year-old girl, with investigators believing there may be more victims. The man was released on Monday without bail, according to records.
That's all we've got for you tonight. We would like you to join us again on NTD Tonight every weekday at 9 p.m. I'm David Zhang. Have a wonderful evening.